The golden era of American muscle cars was more than just horsepower and speed. It was a movement, a symbol of freedom, rebellion, and raw engineering. From the late 1960s to the early 1970s, Detroit was on fire, building machines that didn't just drive, they roared. Names like Mustang, Camaro, and Charger became legends. They stole the spotlight, earned the glory, and lived on in pop culture. But behind these icons, there were others. Machines just as powerful, just as fast, and sometimes even more daring, that didn't get the same attention. Some were victims of bad timing. Others were buried by poor marketing. A few were simply too unique for their time. These muscle cars had potential, power, and style, but they were forgotten. In this video, we'll uncover 8 incredible American muscle cars that disappeared from the spotlight. Each of them has a stories of risk, innovation, and lost potential. These aren't the usual suspects. These are the hidden heroes. If you've never heard of them, that's exactly the point. Let's bring these forgotten machines back to life, one story at a time. Car number 1, 1970 AMC Rebel Machine. In 1970, while Ford and Chevy were fighting for dominance, a smaller company named American Motors Corporation, AMC, did something bold. It introduced the Rebel Machine. With red, white, and blue stripes painted straight from the factory, it didn't just demand attention, it shouted for it. Under the hood, the Rebel Machine packed a 390 cubic inch V8 that produced 340 horsepower and could do 0 to 60 in just 6.4 seconds. Impressive even by today's standards. It wasn't just built to look different, it was built to win. But AMC was the underdog of the muscle car world. It didn't have the budget or brand power to compete with the Mustang, Chevelle, or Challenger. The Rebel Machine was too loud for mainstream buyers and too unknown for collectors. Only about 2,326 units were sold, a small number that faded into obscurity fast. And yet, the Rebel Machine was one of the first factory-produced muscle cars with such a bold personality. It challenged the norms. It laughed at subtlety. It tried to rewrite the rules of street performance. Today, it's a rare find. But when one shows up at a car meet, heads still turn. Car number 2, 1971, Buick GSX. In the golden age of muscle, most cars were raw, loud, and wild. But then came the 1971 Buick GSX, a machine that blended brute strength with refined style. It wasn't just a muscle car, it was a muscle car in a tuxedo. At its heart was the 455 cubic inch Stage 1 V8, producing an incredible 360 horsepower and a massive 510 pound-feet of torque. That torque figure made it one of the most powerful muscle cars of its time, capable of pulling hard off the line and never looking back. But the GSX wasn't trying to be flashy. It had a clean, elegant look with subtle striping and a tidy interior. It was built for those who wanted power, but didn't need to prove it at every red light. The problem? Buick was seen as a brand for older, luxury-focused drivers. Most young muscle car buyers were chasing Mustangs and Roadrunners, not Buicks. As a result, the GSX never got the recognition it deserved. In 1971, only 124 GSX units were produced, making it an instant ghost. Today, collectors drool over the GSX. Its combination of comfort and crushing torque makes it one of the most underrated legends of the era. Quiet, classy, brutal. That was the GSX. the gentleman's muscle car that vanished before most ever knew it existed. Car number 3, 1970 Ford Torino Cobra. The 1970 Ford Torino Cobra was built for one thing: raw speed. It wasn't a car for cruising or flexing. It was a factory-built missile aimed straight at the drag strip. And yet, somehow it got lost in the shadow of its louder cousin, the Mustang. This beast came equipped with the legendary 429 Cobra jet engine, delivering up to 375 horsepower. Paired with a close ratio 4-speed manual and a performance suspension, the Torino Cobra was a street weapon. It could outrun many muscle cars of its time, even those with more hype. Its design was more aerodynamic, sleeker, and more grown-up than other muscle cars. It didn't scream for attention. It just moved like a predator, fast and low. But that subtlety worked against it in a world where looks sold faster than lap times. In 1970, muscle car buyers were all about image. The Torino Cobra, despite its power, lacked the flashy styling and strong marketing Ford gave the Mustang. It became an overlooked option, often ignored by younger buyers who wanted something flashier. Today, finding a clean Torino Cobra is rare. Many were driven hard and forgotten, crushed or left to rust. But those who know, they know. The 1970 Torino Cobra wasn't just a Ford muscle car. It was one of the fastest, fiercest Cobras ever to wear the badge. And it deserved more than silence. Car number 4, 1969 Mercury Cyclone Spoiler 2. The late 1960s saw a different kind of battle, not just on streets, but on NASCAR tracks. It was the Aero Wars, where speed came from wind-slicing designs, not just horsepower. In the middle of this silent war stood the 1969 Mercury Cyclone Spoiler 2, a car purpose-built for victory, but forgotten before it had a chance to fight. Based on the standard Cyclone, the Spoiler 2 featured a dramatically extended front nose, flush-mounted grille, and a reworked rear end to reduce drag. It was Mercury's answer to the Dodge Charger, Daytona, and Plymouth Superbird. And under the hood, a 351 cubic inch V8, though race versions packed even more serious heat. Only about 519 units were ever made, just enough to qualify for NASCAR's homologation rules. But just as Mercury was preparing to race into history, NASCAR changed the rulebook. Suddenly, those slick aerodynamic cars were outlawed, and the Spoiler 2 became obsolete overnight. Dealers struggled to sell them. The styling was too weird for the average buyer. Many ended up unsold or converted back to standard models. Today, the Mercury Cyclone Spoiler 2 is a ghost of a war that never happened. A car designed to win, silenced by politics. It's one of the rarest muscle machines from the era and a painful reminder of how quickly the rules can change and erase a legend before it begins. Car number 5, 1973 Pontiac Grand Am. The 1973 Pontiac Grand Am was supposed to be the next big thing, a car that blended luxury, performance, and European-inspired styling. Pontiac envisioned it as a refined muscle car for a changing market. But unfortunately, the market was changing too fast. By 1973, the American muscle car era was already on life support. Rising gas prices, stricter emissions laws, and skyrocketing insurance rates were strangling performance. In this tough climate, Pontiac launched the Grand Am, a stylish coupe with performance roots, offering a 400 or 455 cubic inch VOD 8. Paired with a sport-tuned suspension and sharp handling, it had the DNA of a GTO. with luxury touches from the Grand Prix. It even had bold design features like a slotted nose, louvered tail lights, and wraparound dashboard, things far ahead of their time. But buyers were confused. Was it a muscle car, a luxury car, a European wannabe? Worse, its timing was terrible. The oil crisis made gas guzzlers unpopular, and muscle cars were rapidly dying. Despite its performance capability, the Grand Am never found its audience. Sales were modest, and it was quietly discontinued within a few years. Today, the 1973 Grand Am is rarely mentioned in muscle car history. But for those who look closely, it's a reminder of Pontiac's last big swing before the golden era came crashing down. A muscle car with manners and a sad case of arriving just a little too late. Car number 6, 1968, Dodge Dart GTS 440. When people think of muscle cars, they usually imagine big bodies and big blocks. But in 1968, Dodge broke that rule with something wild. The Dodge Dart GTS 440. It was a compact car with a monster lurking inside. The Dart was originally Dodge's economy model, small, simple, and practical. But engineers at Chrysler had a rebellious idea. What if they crammed a 440 cubic inch V8 into the Dart's lightweight body? The result was terrifying in the best way. With up to 375 horsepower, no power steering, and limited traction, the Dart GTS 440 was a street-legal rocket with the soul of a dragster. It could hit 0 to 60 in under 6 seconds, but handling it took nerves of steel. It wasn't built for comfort or refinement. It was built to dominate the quarter mile. But because the big engine barely fit and Dodge didn't advertise it heavily, only a handful were made. Some say fewer than 50 factory models ever hit the streets, making it one of the rarest factory muscle cars of all time. It was fast, it was dangerous, and it was forgotten, overshadowed by more polished Mopar models like the Charger and Challenger. Today, if you find one, you've found a unicorn, a compact car that punched far above its weight class, then disappeared into legend. Car number 7, 1970, Oldsmobile Rally 350. In 1970, muscle cars were everywhere, and so were high insurance rates. Young buyers wanted power, but couldn't afford the price tag that came with it. That's when Oldsmobile tried something bold with the Rally 350, a bright yellow muscle car designed to be affordable, stylish, and surprisingly quick. Instead of packing a big block engine, the Rally 350 came with a 310 horsepower 350 V8, aiming to dodge insurance hikes. But it wasn't shy. It stood out in traffic with its Sebring yellow paint, color-matched bumpers, rear spoiler, black stripes, and rally wheels. It screamed muscle without being a threat on paper. Oldsmobile hoped to sell it as a smart muscle alternative, bold looks with manageable power. But the idea was ahead of its time. Buyers didn't want budget muscle in a world obsessed with bigger, faster, louder. Many saw it as style over substance. Only around 3,500 units were made before it quietly vanished from the market. And yet, today, the Rally 350 is one of the most striking muscle cars ever built. It was clean, coordinated, and carried a vision few understood back then. Muscle doesn't always need to be monstrous. It was called a gimmick, a mistake, a marketing flop. But maybe it was just misunderstood. The yellow phantom came and went, but those who saw it never forgot it. Car number 8, 1971, Plymouth GTX, By 1971, the American muscle car dream was beginning to fade. Insurance premiums were climbing, emission regulations were tightening, and buyers were starting to look for smaller, more efficient rides. That's when Plymouth gave the world one last beast, the 1971 GTX. And almost no one noticed. The GTX had always been Plymouth's gentleman's muscle car. It combined brute strength with a touch of refinement. In 1971, it got a bold redesign. Fuselage styling, hood scoops, wide stance, and could be ordered with the 440 Super Commando 5.8 or the legendary 426 HEMI, producing up to 425 horsepower. It was fast, beautiful, and extremely well built. But it launched at the worst possible time. The muscle car bubble was bursting, and high-powered vehicles were becoming liabilities instead of dreams. Buyers ignored it. Dealerships couldn't move it. Only about 2,800 units were sold, and just a handful came with the HEMI engine. Soon, it was dropped from the lineup entirely, absorbed into the Roadrunner nameplate, and erased from memory. Today, the 71 GTX is a hidden gem. Its sharp design and outrageous power make it a collector's prize, but it still lives in the shadow of its more famous cousins like the Cuda and Roadrunner. It deserved glory. It got forgotten. But legends have a way of resurfacing. They didn't make it into the posters. They weren't in the commercials. And they didn't win the muscle car popularity contest. But each of these forgotten machines had something special, a unique roar, a bold design, a purpose that just didn't fit the times. The Rebel Machine was too loud, the GSX was too refined, the Torino Cobra was too quiet, the Spoiler 2 was too smart, the Grand Am came too late, the Dart GTS 440 was too dangerous, the Rally 350 was too different, and the GTX, well, it was just too good for the moment it lived in. Time wasn't fair to them. The industry changed, regulations tightened, gas prices rose, and one by one, these monsters were locked away, traded in, or forgotten. But muscle cars were never just about stats. They were about soul, and every single one of these machines had it. Today, a few survive, hidden in barns, restored in garages, or roaring on rare show days. They may be ghosts, but ghosts that still leave tire marks. Because true muscle doesn't die. It just waits to be remembered. So if you ever see one of these legends on the road, stop. Look closer. You might just be staring at a story that almost slipped through history's cracks. Which one of these forgotten muscle cars did you love the most? Or maybe, just maybe, you've seen one in real life, parked in a back alley, covered in dust, growling to life in a garage somewhere. These cars may be rare, but their stories still matter. And the more we share them, the more they live on. So tell us in the comments, which car deserves a comeback? Have you ever ridden in one, owned one, dreamed of one? If you enjoyed this journey into muscle car history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon, because we're not done yet. More lost legends, barn finds, and engine stories are on the way. Let's bring these beasts back, one memory at a time. Because when you tell their story, you keep the engine running.